Hey, you're not even eating. She's just licking the bottom of the thing.
Okay.
Getting food in there.
Just getting some juice. We're live, just so you know. You're live. We have 0 people on, and I've made $0, and I have 0 likes. So that's all I'm feeling. Feeling pretty good. Another day. Another day. Okay, let's get this situated. Zeros across, it's not easy to get zeros across the board. But I manage. But I manage. We should have your whole family log on at this time. And you guys can just have like a family text chain. What? Is that wrong?
No.
Oh, you gave me a look of disgust.
I didn't.
Well, you kind of gave me a shrug.
I did do it.
Okay. What are you laughing at? Thanks, Bold Cotton Knitting. Here's the whole thing. There we go. Just working on the building the tree texture here. Another day. Almost done with the trees. Then we'll be working on, there's a little lake section at the bottom. And then we'll finish off the last little section of the mountain. If you want to see a step-by-step on these trees, check out my tutorial how to draw a forest. But the short description right here is I'm layering from lightest to darkest my values, 2H, HB, and a 2B. And just making these little marks in the direction of the trees, you know, going horizontally. And I layer them on top of each other to build that texture and contrast. And you can, we'll shape them in a little bit as we go. But it's a slow process, but as you can see, like, if you're patient, it turns out really well. So that's the short about how to draw a forest if you want some better angles and views of it. And down here, as I mentioned, we have a little bit of a lake section. There's some grass right there, but I'm just ending it right there. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, it's been a long process to get here, but it's been on the back burner for quite a while as I work on my channel tutorials. So that's why I started these lives almost every day, because that was the only way I could make progress on it. How long would it take to get good at drawing? Tough question to answer. Have you played around with it at all, or just from scratch? I think, you know, there's some amount of natural talent you might have, and then but if you practice every day, maybe not as long as you think, but it depends kind of what your starting point is. If you have some natural talent, or you're good at sort of interpreting and seeing what, you know, interpreting what you're looking at and how that translates to drawing, might be less time than you think. But also, if you're trying to draw realistically, it can be quite the task. So I don't know if I have a specific answer for you, but you've been drawing for a little while. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your drawing? And what do you draw? Do you draw landscapes? Do you draw people, characters? Like an 8. Okay. Well, so 8 out of 10 is pretty good, but you don't consider yourself good at drawing yet, and you're 8 out of 10? I don't know, that seems like you would be pretty happy with what you're doing, but what are you trying to achieve that you can achieve? So I'm switching to my HB pencil here and just layering the next darkest value in. Making sure to pick the pencil up often. I don't know really. Okay. Well, I'd just say keep at it. And, you know, keep pushing yourself to keep learning, and maybe things that when you start off you're not sure if you can complete, and then you're going to end up throwing a lot of stuff in the garbage probably. But then eventually, if you keep to it, you'll figure out how to do it. But you're really good. Well, thank you. I've been practicing for a while. But I don't really draw people or characters. I just all draw nature stuff. You know, I'm more of a nature guy than drawing a portrait guy. I did some tutorials on drawing animals, but people didn't seem to be as interested in those. Yeah, you have a good day too. Thanks for checking me out. So on this little 1x1 in square we're working on today, it's another one kind of like up here where it's all texture building. There's not really many definitive trees like you see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. maybe 5 in that one. Here again, it's just all these trees coming together, so it's kind of just a big blob of texture, similar to this one right here. But even though we're not having like a definitive shape, it still takes a while to develop our texture and contrast and keep it in line. With only a few squares left to finish this drawing off, I don't want to slack off. And as I mentioned on other days, like there's a tree that starts right there. I might just hone that shape in and not match my reference image exactly. I don't really care if my forest doesn't look exactly like the reference image. It's more the mountain. I'm mostly just looking at the reference image for sort of inspiration and making sure my trees and texture and scale is in line. And the trees come together more, like I'll shape another one right here. They come together mostly on the last value, which is my 2B, and that's when you're putting in all the darker shadows. And you can use any range of values as well if you like 2B, 4B, 6B, whatever it is, however dark you want to go. For this drawing though, I need to use mechanical pencils because the scale of this is so small. This is a 12 by 18. And so with that, a 2H, an HB, and a 2B was just the easiest to proceed with. And again, it turned out really well. So, but any range. I mean, you could even just do it with one if you were really careful with the pressure you put on it, so you can sort of work different values with the same pencil. So I'll shape a few definitive trees in here, but most of the center part here is just sort of, must be like 5 or 6 trees coming together, and you don't really see much in terms of definitive shape. Whoopsies. These little areas of white, those are actually going to be, I'm leaving those like that because that's actually going to be where my shadows go. So I don't need to put as much texture there. But I'm just making little marks in the direction of my branches and lifting up. So some of that 2H is sitting back there, that will show up. A little bit of the white paper here and there. It always looks more dramatic on the live on the phone. There's a lot more subtlety. Like some of these look really black and white, but there's a lot of subtleties and like values in between there. It's just the phone is very contrasty. But this first 2 pencils, HB and a 2H, it's really just sort of controlled scribbling. And now this is my 2B pencil. And we'll start to shape some stuff up in here. Now I want to be a lot more thoughtful with where I put my shadows. Making sure to lift up so I don't cover up all that work we just developed. See, this tree's kind of continuing down here, so I'm just sort of poking in some little branches that are sticking up, some little shadowy areas. Just being pretty, shaping the trees, but also being a little bit random, because of course where all those branches come into the trunk, there's going to be some shadows as well. So don't forget to put a little bit of darker shadows in there. Thanks, Big Dog. And Scoliosis Journey. Your artwork is so good. Thanks so much. Here's the full drawing to date. Just working on this little bit of square, or trees here in this little square. Just with the 2B, so we built those 2 layers. Just make sure you're always lifting up. It's almost like, what is it, stippling, where you're just sort of making little dots of your shadows in the direction of those branches. We're just sort of shaping it. And here, this tree just disappears into the background here. I'm just gonna put a little darker, and then we'll sort of fade it up where the tree reveals itself. And this is the end of my drawing here. So the mat's gonna cover up this, but you know, I wanna make sure to go all the way to the edge here. Thanks, Trevor. Here's a wide. I can never tell when people are coming on or off the live, so I just try to show it kind of frequently. It is a forest. It's a forest, and then this is Mount Rainier up here. So I can give maybe that's a better view. It's tough with the glare on the graphite too. Yeah. This mountain is in Washington State. It's Mount Rainier National Park. This is, the drawing is based off of Reflection Lakes area. It's Rain, R-A-I-N, and then Ear, I-E-R, Mount Rainier. Yes, I think I meant to finish. So this is where the mat's coming in, so I just want to make sure when I have it framed, the mat will cover this up, but you still want to make sure you get all the way to the edge. Just so things look nice and tidy. It does rain a lot there. It's the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states and the largest active volcano in the lower 48 states. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of this in the center is just sort of texture building because all these trees come together. You're not going to see, like I formed one of the trees down here and then one up here. Well, I'll probably finesse it. Where did you say? Yeah, Washington State. Yes, on the West Coast, the most northwest state. So, big national park there. Super cool area if you ever have a chance to check it out. How do you draw so good? That's practice. Practice would be the practice and patience. And of the two, I would say patience is maybe more important than practice. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. They go hand in hand. So just forming in some, building this texture here. Again, this tree comes down, a bunch come up. I'm gonna have to do some finessing with my erasure at the end, but I'll talk about it. Cascade, yeah, I think it's like the west, it must be, the western, I don't know if technically it's part of the maybe it is. I have to look that up. It's just south of it. North Cascades is just north of it. So I don't know if it's technically part of that range. I'm not 100% sure on that. Or if it's like the Western Rockies. I guess I don't know. Can you draw using your foot? Yes. Any Sasquatch? You better believe it. I've yet to see one with my own eyes, but yes, you can. That's weird, man. Well, you asked the question. Cascades are part of the Rockies, I believe. Okay, well, yeah, maybe it's both then. North Cascades National Park, though, is just north of Mount Rainier. So I'm not quite sure where that range ends. Can you draw blindfolded? Yes. Do you feel the paper or do you just memorize? I just become one with the paper. See, here's the thing. Anybody can draw blindfolded. You didn't ask, can you draw well blindfolded? That's the real question. If you draw a Sasquatch, you will then see one. Well, I don't think it was self-explanatory. What one considers good, somebody else might not. Enjoy, dude. Have fun. See ya. Thanks for checking out my drawing, Trevor. Can you draw well while being blindfolded and tied to a chair, but given a pencil in your foot to draw with? I don't think I could do that one. You did win. Thank you. Did you sell your soul to get this talent? Coming in with the tough questions. No, I just practiced. Thanks, Walter. Let me know. Looked like a few people jumped on. Well, I'll just show people. Here we go. Here's the full. So I got a little section up here to finish. This little trees and a little bit of the lake down here. And then the end, it'll be. This is a 12 by 18 drawing. And I like to leave the paper. You know, once I finish, I'll sign it right here. Trim the paper, kind of however best to fit the matting, and then get it framed up. How long have you been drawing this? I started in not last April, but the April before, but I've been working on drawing tutorials, so I haven't really worked on it every day until the last month. Before that, I'd go several months, so it's not like I've been working on it every day. You are so talented and patient. Yes, patience is key. Patience is key. Is the field of drawing worth it in terms of money? Only if you're really well known. I wouldn't say it is for me. It was more just kind of a passion that I started recording, and then people started wanting to know how I draw things, and then they wanted to know if I could draw with my feet, and then they wanted to know if I could draw blindfolded with my feet, and not just draw, but draw well. But in terms of money, no. So I got to lighten this up a little bit. It kind of became too much of a pattern. I kind of lost focus a little bit. So what I like to do is I take this little eraser and I rough it up on my sandpaper. And that creates kind of a rough texture on the end. And that actually enhances the pencil texture because it erases unevenly. And as I've been saying, like, there isn't a lot of definitive trees. It's more just texture building in this little section we're doing. So when we draw, we draw. That's true. You'll make it, buddy, only if you start practicing the blindfolded thing with your foot. You know, I bet that would propel me. Since it would be, you know, just a gimmick. But I'm going to stick to my way, but... so yeah, I just do little taps, kind of like I did with the pencil. It just can create some random, or a little bit more randomness in my texture. And then we'll just sort of just sort of work it back. But see, I have a little too much, this line right here is a little too definitive for me. And I like to keep things natural, and that doesn't look as natural. Do a little bit more. And also there are a few little highlights I want to get in. The sunlight is coming from right to left here. So I'm gonna work in a few little highlights. So for the little highlights, this is taken just after sunrise, but there's a little bit of sun kind of hitting some branches over here in some cases. For that, I like to just take this electric eraser, which is really aggressive, and just do little taps. And that way, see there's a tree right here, and then this tree is gonna have a few little branches poking out. So I just wanna have create a little depth between the two. Will anybody ever notice that? Probably not, but. Okay, I think that's looking pretty in line with the rest. Once I get close to the end, I like to just make sure nothing is standing out in terms of the rest. Make sure it's in line with the rest of the drawing, which I think it is. Maybe just a couple little adjustments here, or keep it random. Random is good. Nice and natural. Okay. Brilliant. I have to go and feed the cats. Till another day. Have a wonderful time. Thanks for checking out the live. We'll see you later, Walter. All right. yeah, I think that's looking good for today. So we're down to just those 3 final squares of trees. A little bit of the lake here, which that should be hopefully pretty easy. And then the most intense part is this little section here. But thanks everybody for spending some time with me, and we'll see you next time.